When we read history and come across horrible atrocities, we start to think what people of those times would have thought about it, why no one at that time raised a voice or acted against it. We start to wish that we should have been there at that time so that someone would have helped the victims of persecution. Think about it. What would we do if we were there at the time when slavery existed, or when Hitler occupied Poland, or when Europe colonized and persecuted half the world? What would we do if we were there at the time when the Native American Indians were being ethnically cleansed? Nothing. Yeah, I would bet that we would have done nothing about this. And if you are offended by this, let me ask you what you are doing now. There are over 40 million slaves right now, and the slave and trafficking industries in 2025 generate more than $236 billion. And not just slavery, ethnic cleansing, illegal invasions, outright genocide. And despite all this official information circulating the internet, little work seems to be done in order to change this. It's as if the whole world collectively decided to stop caring. And the reason for this is you, at least indirectly. Because despite seeing all this happen, we seem to have stopped caring. So, as much as you'd like to think that you would not allow slavery if you were there at that time, you would have. And not just slavery. You will be shocked to know just how many horrible things your brain would have allowed to happen. One of the reasons this happens is the bystander effect. In 1964, a New York citizen, Kitty Genovese, was murdered in cold blood, and what shocked the police and the rest of the public was that apparently 38 people witnessed it and no one did anything. Now, 38 people did not actually witness and chose not to report. That was actually a fluke by newspaper companies at that time. Regardless, this public paralysis became a symbol of societal apathy. At the time, this shocked everyone, including detectives, psychologists, and normal people. How could humans, being the proud pillars of morality and reason, do this? So, psychologists John Darley and Bib Latine designed a lab experiment where participants believed someone was having a medical emergency over a phone call, and with this, they found something concerning. When the person was the only one to hear the emergency, they were more likely to help. But if he or she thought others could also hear, only a small percentage of them took action. Normally, you would think that with more people, our moral prowess would increase. But this experiment shows that as the number of people increased, we actually felt less motivated to take action. Thus, the bystander effect was born, a phenomenon still studied today. See, with more people involved, our brain thinks that the responsibility is diffused among all people. Seeing that there are more people to take action, we stop making effort. And other factors like social image and peer pressure also work in favor of this. The bystander effect shows us a glimpse of just how much humans would allow to happen when there is less responsibility. It explains why millions know but only few try to act. But it doesn't fully explain why we don't actually act upon the atrocities I mentioned before. There is a deeper, more disturbing reason as to why you ignore these acts. In the bystander effect, at least some moral individuals take action, but this other reason is why the whole world decides to turn a blind eye, why the world seemingly loses all sense of morality. When you see a news article which reports on an earthquake or a famine which had casualties, you naturally feel bad. It's only natural to grieve for the loss of other humans. But imagine you see these types of reports every day for the next few months. At some point, you will stop caring because now you will perceive human casualties as normal. Where once you had a sense of empathy, now you feel nothing when you see these types of reports. And it only gets worse as the death toll increases. The desensitization process follows a predictable pattern. As Susan Moeller explained in her seminal work, Compassion Fatigue, how the media sell disease, famine, war, and death. When war and famine become constant features of our newsfeed, they risk becoming mundane. This phenomenon aligns with what psychologists call psychic numbing, where large numbers paradoxically leads to less emotional engagement rather than more. Now imagine if all the humans just turn a blind eye to these catastrophic events, if everyone just stopped caring about the ones in need. Wars and conflict are heavily dependent on public opinion, especially in the last few decades, to the point where entire wars can be won or lost based on public opinion. The Ukraine war saw a devastating shift when the public just stopped caring. The attention went to Israel-Palestine conflict, and slowly, even that got ignored. People got desensitized. I will touch more on the Israel-Palestine conflict in a bit, but just the fact that I say that people stopped caring about war is absolutely insane. Desensitization is not lack of morality, but it does lead the audience citizens to get more conditioned to immoral things. But what if you overcome both desensitization and the bystander effect? Let's say after watching this video, you realize that maybe you are starting to avoid and ignore atrocities, not because you support them, but because you've grown used to them. Let's say you want to make the change, but instead of fighting against slavery, you start supporting it. Yes, it is possible because media has the power to do anything, even justify a genocide. The receptivity of the masses is very limited. Their intelligence is small, but their power of forgetting is enormous. In consequence of these facts, all effective propaganda must be limited to a very few points and must harp on these in slogans until the last member of the public understands what you want him to understand by a slogan. This is Hitler talking about propaganda in his propaganda book, Mein Kampf. Looking back on Nazi Germany, we start to wonder, how exactly did Hitler convince all these normal citizens to commit inhuman atrocities? Because it's not like the German people were not humans, they were people just like us. But how exactly did their leader convince them to lose their humanity? The answer is not the bystander effect or desensitization. The answer is quite the opposite. Hitler actually made the public oversensitive, but in the wrong direction. Hitler, with his propaganda minister Joseph Goebbels, flooded the German public with carefully crafted messages. He presented himself as a messiah, a savior to the Germans, while on the other hand, he presented the Jews as a disease. All problems in Germany were apparently happening because of the Jews. Children were taught racial superiority in classrooms. The Hitler Youth and the League of German Girls trained kids to obey, spy, and even report their own families. Hitler created fear. Germans were told that they were the ones in danger. Jews were dehumanized, portrayed as demons, rats, or subhumans. It didn't begin with gas chambers, it began with laws. Jews were banned from jobs, parks, and universities. 1935 Nuremberg laws stripped them of citizenship. 1938 Kristallnacht. Mobs destroyed Jewish homes and businesses. Each step seemed tolerable to the public until it was too late to turn back. Next step was fear. Anyone who opposed Nazi ideology was named anti-national. He or she could be arrested, tortured, or killed, all under the law. Silence became self-preservation. And finally, atrocities were starting to be seen as noble. There was a psychological distancing in killings, and it all started with propaganda. Learning this history should terrify you, because aside from revealing the deceitful tactics of the Nazis, it also reveals a very unfortunate fact about mass transmission. The way I see it, anyone, and I mean anyone in this age, can be manipulated to support these sort of things. The Germans were just people, but as history tells us, even people can be carefully guided to act like animals. The irony in this section is that the same thing is happening right now.
מצור מוחלט על העיר עזה. אין חשמל, אין מזון, אין מים, אין דלק. הכל סגור. אנחנו נלחמים בחיות אדם ואנחנו נוהגים בהתאם.
See, I do not think that I am fit to make videos which require journalism and research. But when it comes to the topic of Israel-Palestine conflict, I just had to. I apologize for breaking the flow of the video, but this very video started because of this conflict. More so because of how the rest of the world was starting to react towards it. The more I researched, the more I found out that even I was a victim of desensitization. The more I got into the rabbit hole, the more I realized just how much false media can have you believe. The last 2 years have seen the most documented genocide in the history of humanity. It's literally listed in Wikipedia. According to a United Nations Special Committee, Amnesty International, and many other experts and rights organizations, Israel has committed genocide against the Palestinian people during its ongoing invasion and bombing of the Gaza Strip as part of the Gaza War. We live in the 21st century. Everyone has access to a phone and internet. There are videos of babies being unalived, women being unalived, journalists being burnt alive, and prisoners getting tortured. All of the above are war crimes, and the media will still have you believe that it's justified. More so than showing people's biases, it just shows how much media affects us. It's terrifying to realize just how much suffering we have allowed to happen simply because of our ignorance. And it makes you wonder if so much injustice happens today, even with internet and global awareness. What must it have been like for the victims of the past who had no public support, no media coverage, or no voice at all? The truth is, we live in an age where being misinformed is not the exception, it's the default. And unless we consciously choose to see beyond the screen, to question and to reawaken our empathy, we risk becoming exactly what history warns us about, a population which watches evil unfold and says nothing. You don't have to be a journalist to care. You don't need a degree to tell difference between right or wrong. You don't need permission to feel something or say something or to do something. The world doesn't need more silence, it needs you, awake and aware. Whether you are a Muslim, Jewish, Christian, Hindu, or none, the core value is the same. Innocent people deserve dignity and safety. So at the end of everything, what I want you to do is to take action. I want you to actively search for better news informants, ones who cover facts instead of ranting their own opinions. I want you to think critically. Your actions might seem puny among all these global authorities, but what matters is that you tried. Because as a collective, every little word matters. I want you to donate. If you don't have the money, I want you to share this video with someone who has the means. I want you to boycott the products that actively support genocide. And if you have nothing, I want you to speak out, not just about Palestine, but about Sudan, Syria, Africa, India, Pakistan. Speak out because no one else will. This is Reach Yusuf. He's not a professional journalist. He's just a normal kid vlogging his life from one of the most dangerous places on earth. And he's not alone. Mohammed Rasheed, Renad Atallah, Yusuf Saad, they are all documenting bombings, death, and destruction, risking their lives just to show you the truth that media ignores. They don't have a big news channel. They don't have the facilities that you and I get to enjoy. They have a phone, a voice, and unimaginable courage. So if you want to support any of them, I will leave links to all their social media pages and a donation link. And this is not an affiliate link. It's a way to provide you an easy route to action.